Welcome to tonight's Here and Now, and a performance that this country has had to wait more than 40 years for. At last, uncensored, in full, from sealed tuna sandwiches in Centreville to an ultra-modernist pleated gazelle to a parodically size-obsessed penis dimension. From a performance as part of the South Bank Centre's The Rest Is Noise Festival in London a couple of weeks ago, we present Frank Zappa's 200 Motels, his surrealistic documentary about life on the road with his band, The Band, the Mothers of Invention. So is 200 Motels a surrealistic documentary, like Frank says? Well, maybe not just. With a cast of hundreds at the Royal Festival Hall, singers, actors, musicians, you could call this a postmodern opera, a visionary post-freak-out satire, an explosion, transcendence and vindication of musical modernisms from the concert hall to the rock stadium, as well as a multi-dimensional narrative about life, sex, interviews and ennui on the road, culminating in a hymn to get everyone some love on the weekend, some real satisfaction. In fact, 200 Motels was first made as a film featuring the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, Ringo Starr, Keith Moon and the Mothers, and occasionally Frank himself. And on the back of the filming, Zappa planned a performance at the Royal Albert Hall in 1971. But when the Hall's authorities read some of 200 Motels' lyrics, they banned the piece on grounds of obscenity. Zappa went to court to contest the case and get some of his money back, and he lost, ludicrously. Well, the world's leading Zappologist, Ben Watson, is with me tonight to tell us what happened at the Royal Festival Hall and to journey further into the world of 200 Motels with me. But it wasn't just Zappologists who couldn't wait for this performance, which came hot on the heels of another concert in Los Angeles. The whole audience were in a foment of anticipation, as Zoe Lucas found out.
Well, after the LA performance last week, I think everyone's really excited in the UK. It's the first time that 200 Motels has been heard over here, and it's just a fantastic opportunity.
I want to see why it was banned, because I can't think of anything that Zappa's done that should ever have been banned. He's a genius artist.
He's got so much work that is orchestral that's never ever been played, so the chance of actually listening to some, just being able to sit back and listen and the experiences, wow.
All of my family love Frank Zappa's music, and Mum found it on the internet and thought that it would be a great idea for us all to go.
What are you expecting from 200 Motels tonight?
Weirdness, probably a lot of profanity. I just think it's going to be bonkers. I just genuinely don't know what to expect.
Given the lineup, I'm expecting a brilliant performance of some wonderful music.
Expecting the unexpected. That's all I ever expect from Zappa. It's something bizarre. I don't know what to expect.
I think it's going to be pretty crazy.
I don't know. I think it's going to be quite a surreal experience, but I'm looking forward to it.
Zappa refused to come back until the Queen apologised to him, which I don't think she ever did she?
Zappa fans at the Royal Festival Hall. Well, Ben Watson, you're going to know better than anyone. Did Her Majesty ever make it up with Frank Zappa?
No, she did not.
Ben, look, in books like The Negative Dialectics of Poodle Play on Frank Zappa, parts of which you read to Frank at the end of his life before his tragically early death in 1993, I mean, you've done more to provide a bigger framework of thinking and ideas about Zappa's music than pretty well anyone. Where does 200 Motels fit into that chaotic, extraordinary phenomenon of Frank Zappa's output?
He had the largest budget he ever had to do music. He raided film culture, which has far higher budgets than the music culture. I mean, Hollywood is vast. So it was United Artists, and it wasn't a large budget by film standards, but it meant he could employ an orchestra. And that was absolutely fantastic for him, because he'd been writing orchestral music since his teens, and at last he could hear it. So the film it's like a 60s event. I think of it in terms of things like Rock and Roll Circus by the Rolling Stones, a legendary kind of event in a big top with all kinds of goings-on happening, or indeed a classical event like Labyrinthus 2 by Luciano Berio with poets reciting and people talking and music overlapping each other and jazz at the same time as classical, and this feeling of everything at once all over the place because we can. And 200 Motels seems to be in that vein. It's a film, but it's set in a concentration camp. He has on the cover, you can see on the cover of the album as it was released, you can see "Work liberates us all" over the entrance, which is famously Arbeit macht frei, what the Nazis put over the camp of Auschwitz. So he's setting up his film as an encounter between classical music, represented by the symphony orchestra, and rock music as represented by Flo and Eddie, his singers who came to him from the Turtles, and Ringo Starr from the Beatles, the most important rock phenomenon of the 20th century. And he's pitching them into this full-scale battle and working it out via humour, improvisation, sound. He has a rock band playing simultaneously with the classical music. So for me, it was a breakthrough for Zappa because he'd been having a war in his head, or a entertainment in his head, about loving the music of Edgar Varèse, avant-garde classical, and loving doo-wop and loving rock and roll. And suddenly he can actually stage it in a big place, film it, and show us the results.
What was the reason for the Royal Albert Hall's problems with its obscenity? Because you make it sound like a decidedly high-minded kind of cultural battle. I mean, there are those kind of profanities in it. What were the Royal Albert Hall's problems with it? And are they still, in any sense, shocking because of profanity or not?
I think profanity is always shocking. I don't think it goes away. Zappa didn't want to water down rock music in order to integrate it with classical music. He wanted to sharpen up both. So if he used classical music, it was going to be the most stringent Second Viennese style atonality, or he was going to use ideas coming from Stockhausen and Pierre Boulez to do with percussion and silence and shock. If he was going to have rock music, it was going to be the most depraved, heavy, attractive, repulsive, teenage music he could possibly do. So he wanted to escalate the extremes of both in order to have them have a real clash.
So look, what we'll hear in this performance with the orchestral musicians of the BBC Concert Orchestra and the South Bank Symphonia, and a cast of singers and actors, we'll hear words of profanity. But how much is left in the performance that we're going to hear, Ben, and what happened at the Royal Festival, of that battle between rock and classical? Because after all, this is now mostly, if you like, the orchestral music excised from 200 Motels.
Well, the decision was made in preparing the music for this particular performance to stress narration and the orchestral composition. So I don't think we're going to get the extreme clashes that exist in the film.
Just give us a sense of some of the ways that we might navigate ourselves as listeners through this, because there are scenes in it. I'm thinking of the way it opens. We are placed in a kind of Nowheresville, Centreville, sealed tuna sandwiches, the sort of the ennui of life on the road.
Barbed wire across the back of the hall.
Which there was at the festival hall.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene, Clara McFadden, the soprano, plays the interviewer who masturbates with a doll of Frank Zappa, for example. And that's rather a long section, for example.
And she was fantastic. In the discussions afterwards, everyone was talking about Clara McFadden because she somehow seemed to manage to sing everything properly and was obviously a great voice, and at the same time a sense of humour could encompass the obscenities and deal with that at the same time. And she was the star of the show, really.
There's also then a long section about a piece called Pleated Gazelle, which is a commentary on the narrator sort of says, what is this? It doesn't mean anything. And then the voice of Frank says, well, he ends up telling a story about a gazelle to talk about this sort of post-Boulez kind of modern music. I mean, that's a typical kind of Zappa playfulness that's going on there. But how important is that piece?
Well, he always likes to drop you in a zone where you are unreassured of the quality of what you're listening to.
You're unreassured.
You're unreassured. You're left wondering, is this simply a pile of festering poot? Or am I listening to something consummately beautiful? And these value judgments in your head are being twisted and turned all the time on purpose.
Ben Watson, thank you. Well, look, before we go to the music, to the performance of 200 Motels, a few final words from Frank Zappa's widow and executor of the Frank Zappa Family Trust, Gail Zappa.
I'm very pleased to have this version of 200 Motels at long last available, and for it to be in England where it was always intended to be presented. And because this score exists, we just had a premiere in Los Angeles, my children, they finally at long last get to hear their father's music. I'm sorry that Frank wasn't here to hear it, but this is what we get, and I hope that everybody has a great time tonight.
Gail Zappa. Right, so hold on to your, well, everything for this British premiere performance of 200 Motels at the Royal Festival Hall, where the BBC Concert Orchestra and the South Bank Symphonia and London Voices. The narrator and Rance were played by Richard Strange, Mark was Ian Shaw, Howard and Cowboy Burt were taken by Brendan Riley, while you hear Sophie Bruce as Groupie 1 and Larry the Dwarf. Groupie 2, Lucy, is played by Frank Zappa's daughter, Diva. The Good Conscience and Donovan is Jessica Hines, while the Bad Conscience and Ginger is played by Jay Rayner. Jeff is played by Scott Tunis. The soprano, who sings the part of the journalist, is Clara McFadden, and the whole ensemble is conducted by Jurjen Hempel. So, for the next hour and 40 minutes, let's join the mothers of invention in Centreville. Frank Zappa's 200 Motels.
Gentlemen, here he is, Larry the Dwarf. Now, Larry likes to dress up funny. Tonight he's dressed as Frank Zappa. Let's ask him, what's the deal?
alleys. Just like Glendale. Look, over there. It's a Rancid boutique. This town we're in is just a steel tuna sandwich with a wrapper glued. We get a few in every tour. I think we've played this one before. This town is a seal tuna sandwich. Seal tuna sandwich with the wrapper glued. It's by bologna on the rack. It goes for 40 cents a mac. It's just a place for us the kids to help us pay the cost of the tickets back to LA. The cost of the tickets back to LA. The cost of the tickets back to LA. All the people in the sandwich town think the place is great. One part of it's crumbling down. Most of them probably won't be around. They'll either be dead or moved to San Francisco, where everybody thinks they're heavy business. It's just another tuna sandwich from
Another catering.
Yeah, it is.
Another catering service.
can't wait till we blow this place and get to a town with a lot of hot action. Dies to suck the fringe off of Jimmy Carl Black. Hey, who are these dudes? Are you a boy or a girl?
Or a turkey?
wonder if this son of a bitch can play something I might like. Hey, twerk, why don't you try and play something I can enjoy?
Have trouble working my tape recorder because I'm not very mechanical. I can never get it to work when I want it, which is why I have my notebook with me here.
Why don't you tell me how you're feeling about the world today? By the way, what do you call your group?
I bet your group name is real weird, because you look weird yourself. So many groups got such weird names today. It's so hard to catch up on it. You don't mind if we get a few pictures, do you? We got all kinds of cameras and bulbs and wide-angle lenses to make you look just like a depraved troll or something of that nature. Make you look real weird and far fucking out. I'll just stick this lens on here and fix it so you look like a creep. The kids who read our rock and roll newspaper like to see famous musicians who look far out and groovy.
And then I'll book my book and ask a bunch more fascinating stuff. When is your next LP to be released? And how long have you been growing? How long have you been growing your hair? Have you been to England yet? And how do they like your music over there? How do they like it there? How do they like it? How do they like it? How do they like your music over
I bet the first time you went over there, it was really exciting and heavy and far fucking out. I bet it was groovy vibes over there. So European. I can just imagine you and your little group going all over Europe. Paris, Rome, Essen, even the Viennese woods. Wait a minute. I just want to verify a rumor I heard. Is it true that in the autumn of 1968, you and a bunch of other crazed buffoons actually held a secret rehearsal with members of the BBC Symphony in the back room of an exotic old English pub out on Seven Sisters Road? And there, unbeknownst to the outside world at large, did proceed to illicitly manufacture a semi-pornographic situation comedy rock and roll stage show based on all the reasons why everybody wants to quit your group. Whatever you call it. Isn't it also true that you put this show together against all known laws of man and nature, including costumes, in 3 days? Except for the music you wrote in some moderately extravagant Viennese hotel? The same hotel where you made some questionable 16mm movies of your wife and an unidentified foot? been rumored that you persisted in mounting your silly little production, even against the best judgment of Herbie Cohen, having the audacity to perform it twice in one night at the very Royal Festival Hall itself. Whereupon it swiftly received a Chris Welch Melody Maker review, pronouncing it totally rancid and devoid of relevant social comment and or minimum entertainment value. I've been a little busy. This won't take long, just a few questions. This won't take long, just a few questions.
You startled me.
He's not very, very
Just look at this. Dummy.
A silly little dummy like this could never be very heavy.
You were performing an unnatural act with that dummy.
No, I wasn't.
You were getting hot with it. I saw you rubbing.
What are you? What sort of a... Why should a person like myself be... No.
You were beating off.
No.
While you were getting ready to beat off.
No.
You were rubbing your tits with a deformed hand of a dummy.
No.
Shame on you.
No.
Shame on you.
Oh,
Shame on every one of you.
So ashamed.
You rock and roll interviewers, you're all the same.
I'm so terribly ashamed. Yes. Yes.
Masturbating.
Oh, you call
Masturbating.
me doing it. Mostly, I just do it with a typewriter.
Do you get any gratification?
Lots of great pictures.
One night I couldn't get any action after the concert. I went back to the hotel by myself. I made some instant coffee and I took out the music I'd been working on. A piece for voice and small ensemble. It was called I Have Seen the Pleated Gazelle. Gazelle? Some people might wonder why a person might want to write something like that. It's not pretty and it doesn't make any sense at all. Well, that didn't matter to me while I was writing it. I just wrote down whatever came to mind. I figured I'd never get to hear it anyway.
occurred to me later that night that if by some chance the pleated gazelle was ever performed, the audience might like it better if it had a story. So I made up a story. Once upon a time, there was a girl. She always wore a green wool overcoat. With plastic fish and Vienna sausages pinned on it, on the shoulders. She was in love with a boy who always treated her bad. One day, she flipped out. She had a terrible fight with her boyfriend one night. She told him to go away, and she beat him with a plastic fish. She ate some Vienna sausages to calm down. Then she met a newt rancher, a young lad who raised newts so rich people could have coats to make out of them. She loved him a lot, and they started shacking up on the ranch where he grew the newts. Everything was fine, except he was in love with an industrial vacuum cleaner.
It's a payment on the rental for the dewy little news we got.
The girl was afraid of the dark and the night and sometimes the newts. But more than anything, she was getting worried about the young lad's attachment to the industrial vacuum cleaner. Whenever he had to go out at night to see if the newts had dashed off, she'd stay home and knit big socks, sobbing to herself.
Blood! Blood! The lad touches the night for his newts! Blood!
Then he'd come home all tired out. She'd put down the big sock she was working on and look up at him lovingly. She wanted him to love her just as much as he loved his industrial vacuum cleaner and the newts in the yard. She dreamed of ways to win his love.
The girl wants to fix him some broth.
Tinsel cock. Would you like some broth?
Some nice soup.
Some hot broth.
Small dogs in it. Doggies.
Do ya?
Like broth? Dog broth.
Hot broth.
Dog broth. You like dog broth, huh? How do you like it? Debris of the four styles offered? Debris, rough, breath, and the ever popular hygienic European version, tinsel cock. press explains.
Disciplining munchkin cretins. Munchkins, Irish Catholic victims. Little green scratchy sweaters. Little green scratchy corduroy pants. Corduroy pants. Corduroy pants and green scratchy munchkin Irish Catholic victims. Munchkins, munchkins. Munchkins gets me hot. Munchkins get me
hot. Get her real
A cardboard box. A series of cardboard boxes with a nun suit painted all over them. 4 views. Every side of the box another thrilling view of a black and starchy nun suit. Inspiring in its simplicity, quality goods. Weasels. Vienna sausages. Very small dogs. Inspired by its simplicity, nearly able to get off behind it.
tinsel cup.
Munchkins get up, hot and dewy.
Tinsel coffee daddy. Would you like some broth?
Some nice soup.
Some hot dogs.
Small dogs in it. Dogs. Dog feet. You like broth? Dog broth?
Hot broth.
You like gazelles? 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 Hot dogs? Debris!
I figured that if there was a story, especially a love story, that more people in the audience could identify with or vicariously participate in the concepts involving newts, dogs, gazelles, and hot nun debris.
Why don't you strap on this bunch of cardboard boxes, Dale? He'll certainly look suave and get me hot. Hot, hot, get me hot and if there's one thing I really get off on, it's a non-suit painted on some old boxes and old melodies for and Ariola. Pink gowns, stumpy gray teeth, dental floss gets me hot. Wanna watch a dental hygiene movie?
Pantoon, Rantoon, Pantoon, Random! Man, this stuff is great. It's just as if Donovan himself had appeared on my very own TV with words of peace, love, and eternal cosmic wisdom. Pantoon, Pantoon, leading me, guiding me on paths of everlasting pseudo-karmic negligence in the very midst of my drug-induced nocturnal emission.
For I am your good conscience, Jeff. I know all. I see all. I am a cosmic love pulse matrix becoming a technicolor interpositive.
Huh? Where'd you buy that incense? It's hip.
It's the same mysterious exotic oriental fragrance that what the Beatles get off on.
I thought I recognized it. What is that? Musk?
Jeff, I know what's best for you.
Right. You're heavy.
Yes, Jeff, I'm your guiding light. Listen to me. Don't rip off the towels, Jeff.
Oh, piss off, you little nitwit.
Hey, man. What's the deal?
Don't listen to him, Jeff. He's no good. He'll make you do bad things.
You mean he'll make me sin?
Jeff,
Yes,
I'd like to have
Jeff?
a word with you.
Wow.
I really would like to have a word with you. About your soul.
No. Don't listen, Jeff.
Why are you wasting your life night after night playing this comedy music?
You're right. I'm too heavy to be in this group.
Comedy music.
Jeff, your soul.
In this group, all I ever get to do is play Zappa's comedy music. He eats.
Jeff.
Gets so tense.
Of course you do, my boy.
The stuff he makes me do is always off the wall.
That's why it would be best to leave his stern employ.
And quit the group.
You'll make it big.
That's right.
Of course.
And then I won't be small. Ahmed Erdogan used this towel as a bath mat 6 weeks ago at a rancid motel in Orlando, Florida, with the highest mildew rating of any commercial lodging facility within the territorial limits of the United States, naturally excluding tropical possessions. It's still damp. What an aroma. This is the best I ever got off. What can I say about this elixir? Try it on steaks, cleans nylons, small craft warnings. It's great on the home, the office, on fruits.
This is the real you, Jeff. Rip off a few more ashtrays. Get rid of that inner tension. Quit the comedy group. Get your own group together. Something heavy, like Grand Funk Railroad. Or Black Sabbath.
No, Jeff.
Or Coven?
Peace. Love.
Ah, bollocks.
What can I say about this elixir? Whoa. Jeff has really gone out there on this stuff.
He should never have used the elixir and only stuck to the incense. Oh, Atlantis.
That was Billy the Mountain dressed up like Donovan fading out on the wall-mounted TV screen. He's flipping out. Road fatigue. We gotta get him back to normal before Zappa finds out and steals it and makes him do it in the movie.
Delicate personal membranes. No shit, Howie. We just like musicians for friends.
Oh man, what's his story? You have a brilliant career ahead of you, my boy. You just have to get out of this group.
What? Latex. Fauntleroy. Masseuse.
Howard. That was Studebaker Hawk, dressed up like Jim Pons giving career guidance to the bass player of a rock-oriented comedy group. Jeff's imagination has gone beyond the fringe of audience comprehension.
Jeff, it's me, the fluorescent leech. What can I say about this elixir?
Jeff, it's me, Eddie. What can a person say about this elixir?
Well,
put it on your stage.
It's a rip time.
Play the piano.
You want to go around the block?
Put it in your swimming pool. Ladies and gentlemen,
and you can't even hold it in your hand. Put it on your pizza. Put it on your shoes. Your wife. What? What can I? What can I say about this? Hi. Does this kind of life look interesting to you? Night after night, dinners with Herb Cohen, thrill-packed, fun-filled evenings on the French Riviera at the Midem Convention, a beige tie, the whole bit. Watch Mutt eat and Leon feed the geese. 1,000 greased business cards with your name and the wrong address, plus royalty statements, inspected and customized by Rantoon Tan, Hantoon Fremen D, followed by 12 potential suicides as the members of your group, past and present, find out they can't collect unemployment, a dog, a car, an epidemic of body lice, your own record company, your name on the door, electric buzzer to the inner office, and Ona's tits, a 3-month supply of German bookings with tickets on Air Rangoon. Does this kind of life look interesting to you as a fake rock and roll guitar player in a comedy group?
Hi, friends. Now, just be honest about it. Did you ever consider the possibility that your penis, and in the case of many dignified ladies, the size of the titties themselves, might provide elements of subconscious tension, huh? Weird, twisted anxieties that could force a human being to become a politician, a policeman, a Jesuit monk, a rock and roll guitar player, a wino, huh? You name it, or in the case of the ladies, the ones who just can't afford a silicone beef up, they become writers of hot books.
Manuel the gardener placed his burning phallus in a quivering quill.
Oh, yes, or they became Carmelite nuns.
Gonzo, the lead guitar player, placed his mutated member in a slithering slit.
Or racehorse jockeys. Yeah. There is no reason why you or your loved one should suffer things as bad. They are so bad. They're bad enough without the size of your organ, adding even more misery to the troubles of the world. Now, if you're a lady and you got munchkin tits, you can console yourself with this age-old thing from primary school.
Anything over a mouthful is wasted.
Yes, it is, and it isn't just that. Listen, if you're a guy and one night you're at a party and you're trying to be cool, I mean, you're even wearing no underwear, you're being so fucking cool, and somebody hits on you one night and he looks you up and down and says,
8 inches or less.
Well, let me tell you, brother, what's the time? You gotta be around and you gotta look the son of a bitch between the eyes and you gotta tell him these words.
To the point where, in some instances, it could be classified as a lethal weapon.
A wee-wee. A wee-wee?
A wee-wee?
You mean a penis, don't you?
A penis? Ew!
Penis is such an ugly word.
It's not that ugly, really.
Sure, I use it all the time.
Sure, we all say it every once in a while.
Penis!
Revolting the way you guys say it. Ew! Caca! caca.
A penis can be a very exciting and useful organ.
Very exciting. Once you get to know me.
Penis!
It sounds so overwhelmingly medicinal.
A penis sounds like something a doctor would have hanging off him.
None of the men I know and love in the rock and roll business got a penis. They all got cocks or dicks, at least.
Sure. You go to strap on a pop star and he wants to stick a penis up you. Where's that at?
Let's ask our studio audience. Will you trade what he has in his pants for what I have behind this curtain?
What is it?
You mean what's in his pants?
I know it is in pants. He's a lonely guy.
You have to choose before the big wheel stops whirling. You go whirl the big wheel.
Can I just take the money?
There isn't any money, just the curtain and...
The lonely guy?
Take the curtain!
Time is running out. Think it over very carefully.
The curtain?
I want the money.
Wait. What could it be in there?
In his pants?
In the curtain.
Doesn't anybody care what's in my pants?
It's too little to have a car or a refrigerator.
Oh, don't be deceived by the size of the curtain.
Lord, have mercy on the people of England for the terrible food those people must eat. And may the Lord have mercy on the fate of this movie and God help the mind of the man in the street.
of blessings we've been passed out. We don't want it to be pistol.
You see, we sort of ran out of time here because our contract with United Artists limits the length of this film.
And we still have a few things left to tell you, so without any further hesitation, let me present my friend and my musical associate, Howard Kalin, who will never, ever deliver the closing benediction.
Thanks for coming to the show.
How does it feel? Yeah. The end of Frank Zappa's 200 Motels, that first ever performance in Britain at the Royal Festival Hall. Performing were the BBC Concert Orchestra, the South Bank Symphonia, London Voices, the whole lot of them conducted by Jurjen Hempel. The cast, Clara McFadden was the soprano, the music journalist. You also heard the voices talking and singing of Richard Strange, Ian Shaw, Brendan Riley, Sophia Bruce, Diva Zappa, Jessica Hines, Jay Reiner and Scott Tunis. Well, Ben Watson is still with me. Ben, look, did that performance vindicate 200 Motels as a masterpiece that we should be hearing in concert halls more often?
I think we should be seeing the film more often, quite honestly. It was an amazing performance, and we didn't hear it because we can't sit here for 10 minutes listening to applause, but there was a 10-minute standing ovation afterwards, and the emotion, and also just going among the audience, hearing accents from all over the British Isles and abroad. People had gathered together, and it was like, yes, we're right to have been Frank Zappa fans, because it's very inconvenient being a Frank Zappa fan. When you like the records, you put them on. Often your immediate friends don't like them. You get notorious for putting on this record that interrupts the conversation. And here was a massive celebration. The Royal Festival Hall packed to the gunnels, and they had to put on the lights to stop people clapping. So it was marvellous that it happened. But the future of 200 Motels, I'm afraid, is going to be the film and the album. Because of the way in which classical music is perceived as something raised above other kinds of music, there was a certain amount of bowdlerization happening. Now, I saw that straight away because it begins with an obscenity. 200 Motels begins with an obscenity because the harp player left because of the lyrics to Penis Dimension. Now, if you look at the lyrics to Penis Dimension, instead of just being shocked by the word, they are actually progressive lyrics. They're about the fact that the size of your organ doesn't really matter. For me, these are quite progressive positions against being worried about your body size. But the harpist found this absolutely terrible, and so in a typical Zappa method, he'd simply up the ante, and he has Ringo Starr proffering a bubbling Aladdin's lamp, which he must put in the female orifice, and they say it in the most profane way that we're not allowed to say on the radio. That was cut. right at the beginning. And the first track was named Overture. Now, it is not called Overture. It's called Semi-Fraudulent Direct from Hollywood Overture, immediately producing that anxiety about quality and class and are we cool people to be watching this that Zappa always does. So I felt it didn't allow it to have the spike and thrust that the original had. So I was, in the end, a little bit disappointed.
But surely the audience, that standing ovation means not people thinking about whether it's classical or whatever it is. They just want to hear the music, Ben. Surely the music being there, okay, it wasn't the film, clearly it wasn't the film, but it's that communal coming together to hear a great bit of Zappa. Surely that ultimately is what bound those people together and the reason that it got that amazing 10-minute standing ovation.
I mean, you listen to records...
Rather than anybody clapping the fact, oh good, Frank's in the canon of the Royal Festival. Who cares about that? It doesn't matter. I mean, the festival puts on everything after all. It doesn't just put on classical music. You know, it's not a stamp of institutional approval. It's rather just saying, come on, let's hear this stuff.
Yeah, in the open, away from your closet. I remember going to a Frank Zappa disco once in Hoxton. Somebody was playing Frank Zappa records very loud and we all danced. And the next day I felt so happy and I realised that I'd been a closet Zappa fan before then. I'd never danced to Frank Zappa in public. I didn't even think it was possible. And so it's a relief when these things happen because you realise you're not on your own.
Well, a chance now for us all to dance to Frank Zappa in private. Ben, we've got some time before the end of tonight's Here and Now. What have you chosen for us to play us out?
I've chosen two tracks which come in quick sequence, very purposely, on the film soundtrack. They are A Nun Suit Painted on Some Old Boxes and Magic Fingers. The first is a parody of Second Viennese School atonal music. In fact, it's uncannily close to a piece that Theodor Adorno wrote. He was taught by Alban Berg in Vienna, and he was setting...
a musical piece of Adorno's.
A musical piece, actually for a musical, which was based on the Mark Twain story that became Raiders of the Lost Ark, can you believe? But it is absolutely atonal, and it goes straight into a heavy number called Magic Fingers. And for me, this is the two extremes of Zappa's music, the atonal and the rock jammed next to each other, and the stronger for being jammed next to each other.
Ben Watson, thank you hugely for being with us tonight. We're going to hear Frank Zappa. That'll be the end of tonight's Here and Now. Next week's Here and Now, though, is the first of our programmes from this year's Huddersfield Contemporary Music Festival. Sarah Moore-Peach will be live at a concert from the Linnea Ensemble, music by James Clark, Brian Fernihoe, Raphael Sendo, as well as the first performance of Norwegian composer Cecilia Orr's Come to the Edge. But now, let's dance to Frank Zappa.